Now here are three fragrances that are often mentioned in the same breath. We have Reflection for Men by Amouage, we have Le Male by Jean-Paul Gaultier, and we also have Darley by Parfums de Marly, a huge under-the-radar compliment getter. And of course, Le Male goes back to the mid-90s. Reflection for Men is often praised for its really high quality. I'm looking forward to giving you my comparison of these three fragrances, letting you know which one I think you should pick up depending on what your personal taste and interests are, so make sure to stay tuned. Now before I begin today's video and I tell you about these three amazing fragrances, some might call them citrus fragrances, barbershop fragrances. Of course, Le Male isn't so heavy on the citrus, not in the way that Reflection for Men is. Le Male is more of a mint, lavender, and vanilla scent. I do want to start the video off first by saying that if you're a fan of fragrance-related content, please do consider supporting the channel by subscribing to it. Hit the bell icon so you can be notified whenever I do upload these daily videos to the channel. And of course, give this video a thumbs up if you enjoyed it or if you took something of value from today's episode. It would really mean a lot to me. So here we have three distinct fragrances. Reflection for Men by Amouage, which is an amazing composition by Lucas Suzak, I believe. We have Le Male by Jean-Paul Gaultier, composed by Francis Kirkjohn. And of course, we have the more recent release out of all of these, if I'm not mistaken, and that would be Darley by Parfums de Marly. So let's go back to the mid-90s. We'll talk about Le Male first. Le Male is that quintessential barbershop fragrance. You've heard it spoken about so many times, and of course there have been so many reviews about it on YouTube here, myself included. I had the opportunity to review it a while ago and I love it. I've owned so many bottles of it throughout the years, and of course I have Essence de Parfum and I have Ultra Male and I have so many limited editions and flankers of this fragrance. And what does this fragrance smell like? This fragrance is mint, lavender. Of course, I get this earthy patchouli type of a vibe, but there's also vanilla. It opens up very bright without too heavy-handed on the citrus or anything like that, but that mint is very bright. You take in a lungful of it. You have that lavender. It's aromatic. It's classy. Of course, it's fun. It's playful. It's upbeat. It's not too serious. It's a great, or for some people, they might say it was a great nighttime partying, clubbing type of a fragrance. When you give this fragrance a chance to dry down, and I wear it so often, when you give it a chance to dry down, it does become a bit earthy. And it almost kind of smells like soil at times, right? So it kind of has like this really bright opening. It dries down to this earthy finish. And of course, people often talk about Reflection for Men being like the niche counterpart or alternative to Le Male by Jean-Paul Gaultier. Now, of course, with Reflection for Men, you can find it at discounters, but it's not necessarily going to be, you know, the most inexpensive fragrance. As a matter of fact, it is quite pricey, and Amouage fragrances tend to be quite pricey. This is a brand from Oman. They've been around for several decades now, and they release really top-tier, high-quality fragrances. So this one has jasmine, has neroli, has some spices in here. So it actually opens up much, much, much brighter with the citrus. You have this really nice, beautiful citrusy introduction, and it gets spicy, and you do get a little bit of that aromatic quality in the heart with a little bit of that sweet warmth. It's actually a bit ambery, so I wouldn't say it's too heavy-handed on tonka bean or vanilla or anything like that, but it has a smooth type of a sweetness, but it's much brighter, and I don't get that same earthy, distinctive dry down from Reflection for Men that I do from Le Male. So if you're looking for something that, in my opinion, is higher quality, less iconic, because I think Le Male is a fragrance that everybody would recognize. Reflection for Men is a little bit more unique, a little bit more under the radar, especially among fragrance consumers that have a tendency of purchasing more designer fragrances than anything else. I think Reflection for Men is a beautiful fragrance, and many would consider it an upgrade. Personally, I love Le Male. It's one of my favorites. I have a lot of nostalgia surrounding me wearing this fragrance, and I've worn it to some really nice occasions and, you know, during some really nice times in my life. So I do have a personal connection with it. Of course, we also have Darley by Parfums de Marly. So here's the thing with Darley. It's a huge compliment getter. It's very under the radar. You can guarantee you're not going to smell like anybody else when you're wearing Darley. And the funny thing about Darley is it actually smells like a fusion between these two fragrances and also Creed's original Santal, which also gets compared to Mont Blanc's Individuel. And of course, the Mont Blanc fragrance came out first, but it goes without saying that this fragrance not only has the brightness of these two, it does have the mint, it does have the lavender, but it also has tonka bean in the dry down. And the thing that makes it smell like Individuel or Creed's original Santal, which happens to be a very expensive fragrance, is the fact that there's cinnamon in here. So it's a bit sweeter than both of these two fragrances, and I would say that that spicy sweetness tends to take it in a much different direction. So here you have three distinct fragrances. I can very easily pick them apart if I were put to like a smell test or something like that. You know, they do have their own charisma and characteristics and idiosyncrasies where you can tell it's Reflection, you can tell it's Darley, you can tell it's Le Male. But here you have a fragrance that is rather sweet with vanilla, and it does dry down to something earthy. Here you have one that is very bright, very natural smelling, pretty heavy-handed on the citrus in a very pleasant way, and it has that spicy edge to it. And then Darley tends to take things in a bit of a sweeter direction, more of a night out partying playboy type of a fragrance, huge compliment getter, and also sets you apart, right? So you can guarantee you're not going to smell like Le Male, which everybody pretty much knows what Le Male smells like at this point. It's kind of like a Curve by Liz Claiborne, or a Cool Water by Davidoff, or even a Dior Sauvage. But Darley is a beautiful, beautiful fragrance. Talking about longevity. So the longevity with the current batches of Le Male are going to get you about 6 hours. Reflection for Men is going to get you about 9 to 10 hours. Darley is also up there at right around that 8 to 10 hour mark. So these two are going to give you stellar longevity. Le Male, not so much, but it also goes without saying that Le Male is one of the more inexpensive fragrances in this comparison video. I do find that Darley and Reflection for Men work better as formal fragrances. Le Male can be quite casual. And I think the one that's really going to set you apart is not Le Male, it's not Reflection. I do think that it is Darley. Of course, there is a certain level of uniqueness to Reflection for Men, and I really love the quality of the raw materials. The citrus is just so bright. The florals are very enigmatic and very beautifully done, and they contribute to the overall aura of the fragrance. But of course, I'm making this video for you today because these fragrances are often spoken about in the same breath. If you're looking for compliments, it really all depends on the person that's going to be complimenting you. A lot of people have an affinity for the original Le Male by Jean-Paul Gaultier, and whenever they smell it, they tend to compliment somebody on it, right? It really depends on the experiences that people have established in their own lives. But of course, there is something very suave and debonair about Darley, and considering the fact that Darley is one of the more underrated fragrances from the brand, I would like to see it get more exposure. And of course, when we think about Marley, we think about Pegasus and Percival and Herod and Castor and Haultain and Carlisle and just, you know, so many other wonderful fragrances. But Darley is one that is certainly deserving of more attention. Hey, thank you so much for watching today. I hope you enjoyed this comparison video. I didn't want to make it too long-winded. Have you had the opportunity to try any of these fragrances? I'm sure pretty much everybody here has at the very least tried Le Male. Leave your comment down below. Let me know what is your thought on any of these fragrances or all of these fragrances if you've had the opportunity to try all of them. If you enjoyed this video or if you feel as though you've learned something today, please do consider supporting the channel by subscribing to it. Hit that red button down below. It would mean so much to me. Hit the bell icon and give this video a thumbs up, as it would greatly assist with the YouTube algorithm. Thank you so much for watching. Love you guys, and we'll see you tomorrow. Bye.